Welcome to Unconventional Asians, where we feature stories from Asians who dare to be authentic to show you what's possible. I'm your host, Clover Lamb. During this coronavirus pandemic, you might be at home self-isolating or in quarantine. In today's fast-paced world, not doing anything might be harder than you think. You might be apprehensive on how you can prepare yourself and your family for this difficult time. Today we have Emily He here on the show to share with us her experiences of how it was like to be quarantined in Kunming, China for 6 weeks. Her blog called Dirty Elbows had 2 published articles on her experiences with it. And she's also going to share with us the policies and processes that the Chinese government did to contain the virus. Her positivity is so refreshing during this global pandemic. She's going to share with us her tips and tricks on how she stays sane in these 45 days that she spent inside her house with her mom. And without further ado, here is Emily. Welcome, Emily, to our Unconventional Asians. You're the first guest. Yay!
Yay! Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. We met at TravelCon, remember, last year?
I do. Wow.
Yeah. And I remember in a sea of people, there were very, very few Asians.
Yep. Yeah, it was very easy to pinpoint
to spot each other. I think that's actually what prompted me to start this channel as well, because we went to a diversity panel and I remember they had 5 people on stage and 4 of them are African American and then 1 was Chinese. But for the entire hour, she didn't say anything.
And that thing, she didn't say anything.
Yeah, like it just reinforced the idea of us being more less outspoken, and that we're just being the token Asian just to be slaughtered to say that we're represented, but we're really not. So I feel like
exactly.
we need to change that.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's why this Unconventional Asians thing is amazing.
Yay, thank you. And you're one of the badass Asians, so of course we have to have you here today. Yeah.
Nice.
You have a blog called Dirty Elbows, and what inspired the name? Because it's so unconventional.
So when I was in college, like over 12 years ago already, there was this girl, she was my friend, who told me once that that people with dirty elbows tend to admire the world a lot, or like tend to admire anything a lot, because they go like, you put your elbows on the surface. Yeah. And you just kind of look around admiring things.
Right.
So I thought, I want to look at the world that way.
Oh, that is super adorable. I love it.
Thanks.
Oh, that's nice. That's very cute. It's very different.
Thanks.
Originally from the States, and how come you're in Kunming now?
So I am from the States. I'm an ABC, American born Chinese. My parents are Chinese. They moved back to China when I was in college. Actually, my mom came back in high school. My dad followed like a couple years later. And then after I graduated from college in the US, I also moved to China. And then I kind of just stuck around. I was in Beijing for many years though, but Kunming is my mom's hometown. I came here this time to spend Chinese New Year here, but then this happened.
I know, right? And then now you're stuck there. Not that it's a bad thing at all, because I'm sure you had
it's safer
time right now, in a way, right? Numbers have revealed itself. It's I think the States is winning, definitely.
That's
in terms of numbers.
Yeah, winning.
Right? They always are number 1 in everything.
Exactly.
You were quarantined for 6 weeks, right, in Kunming. Could you leave your unit, though, when you were in quarantine?
Yeah, thankfully we could, because we have to go get groceries and stuff. So the government made sure that all supermarkets, even wet markets, like where farmers come and sell their own produce, all of that stuff was open.
Okay.
So there weren't as many options as before, but I mean, we could happily survive.
Yeah, of course, like we have to eat. Yeah. But would takeout or delivery be available as well?
I think in the beginning, now I can't remember because I didn't get any delivered food.
Really? Good for you.
Not until towards the end. And then I
Yeah,
got
it's
Pizza
like,
Hut.
it's had enough, right? By the end of
Yeah.
like 6 weeks, like, oh, do we not have to cook?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I had Pizza Hut and McDonald's.
Yeah,
And I
all the
haven't
fast
had
food.
that stuff like in a decade.
Really?
But it was
Wow, you're
great.
good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can indulge yourself once in a while. It's all good.
Exactly. Once in a quarantine.
Once in a quarantine, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Definitely in the middle part, like around mid-February, that for sure everything was running. So the delivery and food takeout. But none of the restaurants were open until very recently.
Oh, yeah. That must be tough though. Because in Canada, at least, there is still takeout and delivery available. And most people are doing that. I think in Ontario, just a few days ago, they said we can only do groceries once a week.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah. So what is it the same thing for you?
It varied from place to place, from province to province. My grandma's place in Chongqing province, they could only leave every 3 days, I think it was. And only one person could leave the residential compound. We all live in gated communities. So like everyone in China lives in gated communities.
Right. So that's how they monitor and make sure they track the traffic, I guess, in a way.
Exactly. But where I live, it was super lax. Like my mom and I, we can go out together. Sometimes they would check our temperature on the way in.
Oh, really?
Sometimes they wouldn't.
Oh, really? Okay. But for other buildings or compounds, they would usually check everyone?
Yeah, everyone who goes in. So like my aunt and uncle, where they live, every time they go home, they have to scan a QR code.
Oh, wow.
Even now they have QR codes for enter and exit. So if you go into a store, you scan and it gives them your information. It's basically a tracking system.
Yeah.
So if you have, it makes sense though. If you have the virus and you go into a shopping mall, then they know if you're tested positive, then they're able to track the people that have been around you.
Been around and Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't think that's feasible at all in North America. That's like violating human rights. But
exactly,
I guess it works there because everyone has WeChat, right? So is that how they scan the QR code?
Yep, that's how I do it.
Right?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, like, how does the government make sure everyone comply to the rules? I guess by tracking you would be able to.
I didn't always do it.
No.
But no. And then one day I got curious to see what they asked for. So I typed in my name and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that you would have to type in your name every time you go somewhere, but I didn't realize once you put it in once, then every time you go around, it automatically scans you in. Yeah.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
The way they use technology. In the grand scheme of things, though, it works. When you're really trying to control the virus, it's hard because it's like, it's one thing about violating privacy and everything, but then how else can you make sure everyone listens? Because I think right now we're really having a hard time in North America or other places in Europe that have high cases of the virus to really just like stay home and stay put. So I don't know what we could do really besides like having new laws and enforcement to say if you violate the law, then you get fined or jailed or whatever. But other than that, it's an honor system. Like we just have to trust that people will do it. But looking at the numbers, I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I know. What makes it easier in China is that they have security guards basically at every entrance.
Yeah.
So, and this is normal, like this, even before the coronavirus.
That's right.
Yeah, because we all live in those gated compounds.
That's right.
So they can set rules for our little community. Like my cousin's property management there is much more strict than ours. But they also have better service. For example, like they set up a volunteer team because they stopped allowing non-residents to enter their gate, enter their compound. So they have volunteers that work for that company and they deliver groceries to elderly people, for example, who can't leave their home.
That's
Right?
great. Okay.
So,
That's good. They've
everything
taken
has
care
its,
of.
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure they pay more too, though.
Oh, no,
For better
actually,
service?
no.
No?
No,
What?
no, no, because nope. I guess it was just a thing that the compound provided as like
Well, I
as a
guess it's like
service for the
depends
residents.
on the quality of the management, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess
Mine
that's
didn't do
the same
that.
for us.
Yeah.
Now we know.
Yeah. Can I say something about the technology that you brought up?
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
my friend just wrote an article, actually. He is
Mm-hmm.
a foreigner living in Beijing, and he just wrote
Okay.
an article about why he thinks China is managing this pandemic so well.
Yeah,
And one of the
yeah.
reasons is because of technology. So, like, the reason that people are able to stay isolated so, I don't know, successfully is
Mm-hmm.
because we're so tied to our phones and the
Mm-hmm.
internet and everything
Yeah.
that our normal lives pretty much revolve around it. Like you said, WeChat. Even
Yeah.
old people know how to buy stuff off of WeChat. Like, we book plane tickets through WeChat. We can,
Really?
yeah, the Chinese equivalent of Uber, I use WeChat.
Yeah.
I pay my bills through WeChat. So everything is
Yeah. Everything is in
digitalized.
one super app. Yeah, but that's how they
Exactly.
have all your information as well, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
everything has its pros and cons.
Pros and cons with everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess you can only pick and choose in the situations what works best for you, right? Because in the situation, we do need a tracking system to make sure people complied. But on the other
Yeah.
hand, then of course you lose your privacy. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, pick your battles. What is your disinfecting routine? Or what
Ooh.
was your disinfecting routine, or if it's still the same, actually?
It lightened.
Right.
I
I
lessened the
would
routine.
imagine.
But so when it was really bad, what my mom and I did was have a spray bottle of disinfectant at our
Yeah.
door.
Mm-hmm,
So like
mm-hmm.
right when we live in a big apartment building.
Right.
So before we don't have our own like private forum or anything. So we
Mm.
keep a little spray bottle at our door. So when we come in, we try not to step inside, and then we
Yeah.
reach for that bottle, and then we spray our shoes, we spray
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
bottoms, because that's
Yeah.
what's touching. If people spit on the ground outside, that's where it's touching the bottom of my shoes.
Yep.
I spray my jacket, my
Mm-hmm.
buttons, the
Oh, the details.
doorknob,
That's smart. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I touch my buttons a lot.
Mm.
Keys, even my cell phone,
No, for
light
sure. Your cell phone, if
switch.
anything, might be the worst. It's the thing that we touch the
Yeah,
most.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
So
then I
what?
go to the bathroom and wash my hands.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. For 20 seconds.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like our dance, remember?
Or like,
Just,
yeah.
sing the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, I actually do this now. I do
Right?
this.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Hey.
Yeah. It worked.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna teach the audience step by step how to do the dance, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It'll be fun. Yeah, it's a good 20 to 30 seconds, so it's perfect. You're gonna have to wash your hands in real life for the duration of the song and the dance.
Yep.
Yeah. So that
It's a
brings me.
lifesaver.
It is a lifesaver and it's fun. Hey, you can have both.
Exactly.
That brings me to the question of what is your gear when you go out? It's like the coronavirus fighting gear, because I see some people in like crazy outfits, completely covered
yeah.
head to toe with plastics, gloves, masks, glasses. So do you have a specific gear you use when you go out?
I just wear a face mask, honestly. So
Yeah.
that's me personally. My mom
Mm-mm.
wears gloves and sunglasses, but I
Uh-huh,
just
uh-huh.
wear a mask.
Okay.
It was like when the outbreak was at its heaviest,
Mm-hmm.
we would only go out like once a week to get groceries, at
Yeah.
most twice a week.
Right.
And so I'm really cautious when I'm outside not to touch anything.
Mm.
And when you go to the grocery store, all the produce is just laid out. Like you could pick through the carrot that you want. Maybe you don't want the one on the bottom, but you touched it.
Yeah, that means there's more contact.
Exactly. So people wear gloves for things like that.
That's
I'm
good.
just more cognizant of not touching as much.
Right, that's good. That's why you clean everything and disinfect everything when you get home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of talk about like the face mask being a false protector.
Was the next thing that we're going to get to, yeah.
Right. But, and I get that. Yeah, we're not doctors, so we don't know how to wear that properly, and we don't need those N95s. But like, I touch my face a lot. If I go and touch that carrot and then I touch my face, I'm
then
happy
you've
to have a mask on.
transmitted the virus if it was on any surface. Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's hard because that's the debate again, mask or no mask. First of all, instead of saying, okay, it might be useless if you don't wear it properly, can then the doctors teach us how to use it properly? Number one, right? If everyone is educated on it properly, that would help. I also understand some people are saying when the normal person is wearing the mask, it takes away the supplies for the doctors or nurses on the front line who needs it. So I see that point, but at the same time, if there is a surplus, then wouldn't it be safer if everyone wears it than not? It's hard to say. What do you think?
I totally think that we should all be wearing them. And I get that there is not enough supply for the people on the front lines. And it's not even just doctors and nurses, but it's like for the police, people. Yeah. I was talking to a friend who's a flight attendant. Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's a big one. You're in contact with so many people.
From all over the world in a metal tube
all over
together for quite a few hours. Yeah.
Yeah, are you trained how to wear a mask properly?
Well, they give us a piece of paper to teach you how to use it.
Oh gosh.
So it's hard because I think it's a very stressful time right now, and most companies, most people are laid off, and then because of the reduced flying, and everyone's scared too, right? And so it's hard to keep everything together, and I think everyone's trying as hard as possible. So my company, at least in particular, is really trying to keep up to date and give us all the equipment we could, and that's all you can do, really. But we have N95s.
Good.
Yeah.
And like me, I know I don't need an N95 because I don't come into contact with that many people. I just go to the store. I mean, the store is pretty packed, but like the chances are so much lower than you being in an airplane, for example.
Yeah.
So like, I just wear those flimsy surgical masks. That's not really, that's not preventative against, well, it's preventative, but it doesn't protect me from the virus and the droplets, right? But like, even that kind of thing, if you don't have that, I would wear a cloth over my face or something. I've seen people wear half a bra cup.
Wow.
And there were some, actually that's really good because there's an extra layer of foam. So that's like three layers against you and the virus, or like somebody sneezing in your vicinity.
Oh, but how did they construct the bra mask? Do they like have hoops over the, like, do they sew like hoops around the side and then you kind of wear it?
I guess so.
Interesting.
Well, you've probably seen online so many people sewing their own face masks, right?
Yes.
I think that's amazing. That's great because, but it's amazing for us, like people like us, not for the nurses and the doctors.
No, of course. Yeah. But, no, when you need like actual protection, that's different. Like you do need the real N95s. That face mask is preventing your own droplets from going to the air to infect other people.
Exactly. And the point is, it's just it's asymptomatic. So I think the longest case of the incubation period that we heard of in China was 28 days. So this person didn't show symptoms for 28 days. So he was walking around for almost a month infecting everyone in his path. So that's why we need to wear masks, both as the potentially sick person and as somebody who may come in contact with that person. We just don't know, especially in the US where testing is so limited.
Yeah.
I'm hearing so many people who have these symptoms and they're not even able to get tested and deduce that it's not the flu, then they have no next step. Then they just go home and quarantine. But like
Yeah.
between going to the hospital and going home where you might live with your family members, already they're infected. And then it spreads. So
Yeah.
like,
That's why it's so important to self-isolate. And how do you keep
pretty
yourself
much.
sane? Because I think that's a lot of issues we're having right now in the rest of the world. It's like, it's really hard to social distance. It's really hard to self-isolate. So how did you keep yourself calm and collected during that time?
I don't know about calm and collected. Yeah.
But
So
how
I
do
wasn't
we
always
pass that
sane.
time?
But so what's been keeping me sane is keeping in touch with people outside of China, or
Oh, that's
even
great.
staying
Yeah.
in touch with like my friends and family here. But sharing on my blog was really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people outside thought we were living in a zombie apocalypse. I wanted to
Imagine
show
so
people
too.
that that's not true.
Not the case. Yeah.
I'm picturing New York at the moment,
Oh,
but I don't
yeah.
think it's really a
No,
zombie
no.
apocalypse.
The
No.
media always exaggerate things, I find. So you need
Media.
to
Crazy.
really, yeah, it's sensational, right? They always want to give the negative
Exactly.
news so that people would pay attention. People never
Exactly.
really pay attention to the positive stuff, but I want to change that though. Right?
That's
It's
why
like,
I was trying to share the positive stuff.
I love it. That's why we have you on, because we're unconventional. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah,
Wait,
exactly.
another thing that kept me really sane was exercise.
Yes, yes, yes. So what
Oh
type of
my
exercise
gosh.
have you been doing?
I followed this app called Keep that my
Oh,
cousin just recommended. It's very
okay,
simple.
okay.
It was free and straightforward.
Yeah.
I never exercise. Maybe I do a little running when I'm back home,
Yeah.
but this time I started and I had to do it every day. Like I actually looked
Good
forward
for
to it.
you. That's great. How many minutes like do you exercise like for that app?
Usually like half an hour, so it's
Oh,
not
that's
even a
great. That's
lot.
perfect. No, that's great.
Yeah.
That's all you need, especially if you do it every day. No, the
Yeah.
recommended dosage or amount you should exercise is actually half an hour a day. So that's actually perfect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Oh,
I
that's
top it
perfect.
off with a piece of chocolate.
There you go. Just a piece, right? Or 5. It's fine.
Or a whole Snickers bar.
It's all good. It's all good.
Possible to make exercise fun.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Dancing.
Do you know TikTok?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's fun. There's some really, really good videos on there that speak specifically to the quarantine too.
In China, the famous, we call it Douyin, the famous
Yes.
Douyin videos are
Yeah.
people making like, well, a lot of dancing, but also games. So they put bottles like in a row, you know, when you go to a carnival and you throw a hoop and you try to get it to land around a bottle.
Yeah.
So they're making up games like that. My mom and I were dancing a lot in the beginning.
That's cute.
We have,
yeah.
It was a good way to digest.
Yeah, and bond with the people you love, right? Because I have actually done way more FaceTime with the friends I have right now. Because like, well, we don't know how long this is gonna last. So you know what? We have to do something to see each other.
This isolation thing would really be, I don't know,
difficult.
like you're in a, in your own
you're
bubble.
You're in a castaway island. At least
Exactly.
you still need
no
Wilson.
Wilson.
You still need Wilson.
Oh my God. Also borrowing library books from my public library in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm here in China.
Nice. Do you need a VPN for that?
Thankfully, no.
That's great because it's just online anyways, right? So doesn't matter where you are in the world. That way you can, keep yourself busy and occupied, especially mentally as well. I think if anything, that's the aspects that we really need to focus on. And a lot of people are going to have issues coming up with mental health for this. So keeping in touch with people, physically exercising also helps with that. And then have fun in the meantime if possible, because I think looking at the news can be so depressing.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, my anxiety levels right now are much higher than when
Is
I
that
was in
right?
quarantine. Oh, the
Really?
news in the US, it's awful.
I know. I know.
I think one of the worst things I did was subscribe to the New York Times. Those headlines, they kill me.
You check if they're just fake news or sensational news versus everything's based on facts. So do you go under like government websites to see the actual numbers and everything in order to distinguish the difference? Because otherwise it would drive us crazy. We just keep listening to what's out there on the media, right?
It's a Chinese one. So
Okay.
there are a couple official Chinese sites where they track all the numbers globally and domestically. About those numbers, though, I think no matter which country we're looking at, they don't provide any context, right? We don't, like, the most basic thing that we know, or the most detailed thing that we know about all of those numbers, at least here in China, was like potential cases, deadly cases, like really, what do you call it? What's the word?
Serious conditions.
Like serious cases, exactly. And then we have the death, total number of deaths, total number of people who have recovered. So that's it. But there could be like a whole totally new row of categories you can add, like people who are already ill, people who are over the age of, I don't know, 80 even.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people get freaked out, and I had to stop following the numbers for my sanity.
Oh, for sure. No, that's a good point, actually, because I've been looking every single day by the update by the country as well.
No!
It's like who's winning. But it's true because it depends on how available are the testings as well. I know in the States, they're doing quite a bit of testing. So that's why it will reflect a higher number versus in Canada, we might not have the available resources to test many people. So it might look smaller than it is, but in reality, we don't technically know what the real numbers are. So you're right. Stop looking at it. It's a long time, 45 days.
Now looking back on it, it was really long, but it went by so quickly. Like as it happened, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what? It's over. Now it's April.
It's just how you make the most out of this time as well, right? Like, I mean, you could just do nothing and then feel depressed, or you can make this time to create projects or, you know, exercise or bond with people. Like, I think in this fast-paced world, people have been just so preoccupied with their everyday life that we neglected a lot of areas in our lives. And right now it's
like
a great time to, bond with your children. Yeah. Although some of my friends, they're pulling their hair out because children are at home every day, 24/7.
Yeah. Okay. I say that from another point of view.
Yeah. I think it's different when you have to like actually bring them up. But it's fun when you play with them. But do you think you've gained from this experience? Because I mean, there's always silver linings in everything.
That is true. And every friend I've talked to has, like in China, they all have silver linings that came out of it.
That's amazing.
I have a few.
Okay.
So one of them is I've been quarantined with my mom.
Yes.
So we got to spend a lot of time together, which is not, that only happens about, I only see her like once or twice a year. So we got a lot of quality time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
That's great.
And then I didn't have to be alone in quarantine.
Yeah, no, that helps a lot for sure. I have roommates here too, and that makes all the difference. Yeah.
Yay, that's nice. Yeah.
But that's why the people who are living alone needs to reach out, or other people reaching out to them.
For sure. Yeah, both ways.
For sure. And I think, well, in my view, there's also the chance for you to reevaluate everything in your life and reflect on it too.
Totally.
I think it affects everything, like mental health, your health habits right now that you're exercising more. And then there's your money, because like people are now freaking out about that when a lot of us are laid off. And so it's a great time for us to think like, okay, what have we been doing? Like, are they serving us in the long term?
Exactly. And I really hope that after this, like even for me now, I can hardly remember what it was like to be in quarantine now that life is back to normal. So I feel like, and I read this from a post of a friend today, that if we go back to these normal days, and it'll be like, or like if we go back to the normal days of when before the outbreak happened, then what was this all for? But if we can remember the lessons that we learn now as we reflect on it, when we're kind of forced to reflect on it, then hopefully this will actually bring change for the better. But I know I also say that from a point of view of being really lucky and not having to like feed my family.
So what is another silver lining that you felt was important during this whole lesson of the coronavirus?
I got to bond also with my cousin, who I never really got to know.
Yeah.
So we were always calling and FaceTiming and stuff.
Oh, that's great.
And something that she also always reminded me and the rest of the family is, and this is so important to get through quarantine, is to stay positive. So like
100%.
everything that you're doing, just like find ways to keep your spirits lifted.
Yes.
And if reading the news is getting you down, just turn it off, because you're home anyway. If you stay safe, just stay safe and stay sane and find those ways to stay positive, because really
100%.
Mindset will get us through the isolation.
At the end of the day, because I feel like mindset, if anything, precedes the physical well-being. Because I think society's focused so much on the physical. It's like, oh, be healthy, do this, do that. But then if the mental health is not there, then it manifests into the physical issues. So we need to have that balance and have both. But yeah, it starts with the mind first, though, if anything. Thank you for sharing that. It's very necessary to
my gosh, that's number one.
With your mom, did you butt heads at all during the 45 days? Because you didn't spend that much time with her previously, so it might be a transition, right?
So to be honest, we didn't butt heads during the quarantine because I think we had nowhere else to be. So we were just doing our own thing at home. We kind of ran into the same routine. So we were always stuck here. I think the tension came as soon as life became normal again.
Interesting. Can you elaborate on that, if you don't mind sharing?
Because we have very different world views.
Yeah.
So the way we interact with society and everything is kind of different. And you know, I'm a very independent person. So, you know, I like to travel a lot. I'm constantly out on the road and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and now that we are not self-quarantined anymore, I'm already thinking about moving to a different city and everything.
Right.
Still nearby.
Okay.
But after a while, some privacy, some space
is needed.
Nice. Like she's in the next room.
So now that businesses are open again in China, how are things like? Is the business back to normal as before, or it's reduced?
I think it was in just the last 2 weeks that all the restaurants are open again for seating. So they were open for a while now for delivery and takeout, but finally they opened up so that we could actually go into a restaurant and eat. Like the buses are full of people again. There's traffic again on the street.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And finally the park nearby opened up to walk around.
Is it as busy as before the quarantine?
No, I wouldn't say it's as busy, but it's still busy.
Okay.
I think there's still a lot of people who are stuck elsewhere. And also I only speak on behalf of Kunming because I know in Beijing it's still very restrictive. Beijing and Shanghai and Guangzhou have the major international airports. So it's those airports that most flights are flying into from abroad, and then they screen you at the airport and they quarantine everybody. And foreigners are no longer allowed. They're currently banned.
So they're only taking in residents and citizens?
Not even residents.
Not even residents?
Permanent residents. No, I don't think so. No, just Chinese nationals.
Wow.
So like people with business visas also, they can't come through.
Really?
So I can't leave the
Ooh.
country right now, otherwise I can't come back because I'm a US citizen.
Whoa, really? But I can see why. But okay, so what do they do when they quarantine you as soon as you come in? Do they put you in a room right away, or you could still go home to quarantine?
What I heard from my family friends, because
Yeah.
they are children, they're teenagers. They go to boarding school in the States. And one of them is allowed to home quarantine. He has to be alone. They made sure there's nobody else in that house. So he's one of the lucky ones, you know, he has his own home. So he has multiple homes and he could go to one of them and be there by himself.
Right.
And they put a camera in there so they make that he's alone.
Wow. And how did he get food?
Actually, with him, I'm not sure. I think they have people go every day, but he's one of the lucky ones because he's so young.
Yeah.
And he's in his teens, early teens. So I think family, friends, and family are allowed to bring him stuff, but I think they just leave it outside. They're not allowed to make contact.
No.
And there's another friend's child, also, I think she was just a freshman in high school, and she just flew back, and she's quarantined in a hotel for 14 days. So this lasts for 14 days.
Yeah.
And they bring her food every day.
And just leave it outside the door type of thing. Or get room service, but with outside the door. Yeah.
Room service.
And then once you're done, then you just put it outside and then they take it away. Type of thing.
They do that anyway.
yeah, they do that anyway. It's true. So as a room service, when you're in quarantine,
you have to pay for yourself. Yeah, think of it that way.
Right. And you have to pay for yourself.
Yeah, I think this is a way of discouraging people from returning, because all of the new cases now are from returnees, people coming from abroad.
Right. But the community transmission is not that bad though, right? Because those cases have dropped significantly, which is great. I think, but for us though, I think that's starting the community transmission.
I know.
Because we need to work on that social distancing, people.
So I heard somebody call it physical distancing, which makes more sense, because social distancing, it just sounds like
don't talk to me.
I saw my friends' families having a block party or something on their street, and I was like, that's not social distancing. You can't have like 50 people out on one street.
No,
that is not what this is all about. No. But I think also a big part of it is a cultural thing where, you know, like in the US, I'm also American, we prize individualism, exceptionalism, we're all special.
Yes, exactly.
And China is more collective.
That's
and it's always been about like the greater good. So I think in that way, and what we're accustomed to in our cultures, it's here, if the superiors tell us to do something, just like in school, if a teacher tells the students to do something, you're going to do it. We respect our elders, right? As Asians. So, you know, we have to respect them. And this is a virus that affects our elders. So I think a lot of people are taking it to an extreme.
Yeah. Well, at least it works. In Asia, at least. Exactly. So hopefully
like South Korea,
everyone
Singapore.
can learn from this experience. I think like the debate of like social distancing and the mask, there are both sides. Some people believe it, some people don't, and that's why we don't have that consistency in that practice. And hence why it's confusing, but at the same time, because of the individualistic society, people have critical thinking. So they're like, is that even correct or what you're saying? So if they don't believe and agree with you, they're not gonna take those actions. Versus in a collective society, well, even if it doesn't make sense because the authority said you have to do it, there's no questions asked. Which in
it's
this
also
case
like better
works.
Safe than sorry.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. It's like, well, okay, you're gonna suck it up and quarantine yourself for 6 weeks, but then you're gonna come out better at the other end and not have to continue quarantining. Might be better than half-assing the quarantine at the beginning, and then now you have to quarantine even longer in the long run.
Exactly. So, I think people are realizing that now.
So hopefully we can contain this as soon as possible.
Please.
Yeah. Do people still wear masks, gloves, and all of that stuff now out in China?
Masks, yes, but
Yeah.
gloves, no. So
Okay.
no. I know my family friends, when their kids were flying back on the airplane, they had the full PPE gear, like they're wearing all of that stuff. But normally out on the streets, you just see people wearing face masks. And you see some without face masks now too, because they did send out a blast message a couple weeks ago now that said, in certain circumstances, you don't need to wear the mask anymore. And I think they're slowly also rolling back the mask requirements.
Oh, that's good. Okay. But people are at least still cautious.
Yeah. And I haven't had anybody check my temperature in a few days.
So even out on the street, people check?
Like anywhere you enter. So if you go into a restaurant, if I'm going to my uncle's house, they would, stick that temperature thing on my
security guard. Wow, that's good though. Like at least, because apparently some people who have recovered from the virus got it back again.
I heard.
Yeah, so it's good to just continually check to make sure that, like, you would think that you've gotten the antibodies, but maybe some people are more susceptible to getting it again, so you never know, right? So it's great that like they've implemented that policy of making sure that everyone's still good to go before they enter anything. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for being on the show and sharing with us all those information. I think that will be really, really helpful right now for the rest of us, because right now it's a stressful time for everyone, and we just want to try to make the best out of it, but also take as much precautions as possible, right? So thank you for sharing your perspective. And just one last question that we ask every guest that come on the show. What does unconventional mean to you?
Ooh. It means just going with the flow of what your mind and your heart tells you to do. And if it doesn't align with what everyone else is doing, that's okay. And besides, that's what's unconventional, right?
Yeah. Our tagline is "Dare to be authentic." So I think that's pretty in line with
yeah. Yay!
Where can our audience find you? You have so much good information on your blog.
So my blog is www.dirtyelbows.com. So I'm very active on Instagram. Emily's Dirty Elbows.
Great. Awesome. We'll definitely keep updated with you and what's going on in China. And hopefully that will encourage us that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always light. That's why we're wearing yellow.
Right? Yeah, Asian.
And that.
Trong chân ta nên quyết tâm từ xa vì dịch bệnh không đủ cháy lên giờ tay xóa nghèo đừng nên cho tay lên mắt mũi miệng tàn chế đi ra nơi đông người để được virus corona luôn nâng cao sức khỏe và vệ sinh không gian xung quanh mình nâng cao ý thức của xã hội để được virus corona
Thank you for watching our first episode on Unconventional Asians. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Leave a comment below if you think we should wear a mask or not wear a mask during this coronavirus pandemic. Click and subscribe to see more cool videos with Unconventional Asians on how they navigate these difficult situations during this coronavirus outbreak. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye!